still a newbie to this. So we are also on Instagram Live. So that's great. Let me double check that the Instagram is working. I see my big old head up in there. So good morning, good afternoon. It is Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Today is going to be, or at least for this episode, is going to be a little more off topic than usual, uh, just given by the title. However, we will go over that here in a second. And let me play the intro music and we'll go from there. I'll see you guys on the other side.
I'm an extremely stable genius.
Hello, everybody.
Hey guys. So today is October 14th, 2020. As you can see in the title, I have some. I titled it, Facebook Posts-Mortem, Facebook Posts-Mortem to my mother, how to cope with grief and loss using social media. And it's still a little idea I have, but you may wonder what am I in reference to. And if you read the description below, and I will re-upload this. And before I go further, actually, I'm still messing around with the technology. I thought I had a very good noise canceling app that can cancel background noise live. It doesn't look like it's as good as I thought it would be, so I'm going to do a little bit more digging around. Having said that, I'm wearing the AirPod Pros just so I could cancel all sound at least coming into me, and I can focus on you guys. Having said that, I may proceed with re-uploading streams edited and basically perfected, because I think the live stream format is great, just to get the ball rolling, but for documentation purposes and for just purposes of presentation and I don't know, coming across at least somewhat serious for the future, it's not that hard to run it through Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro and do some noise canceling here and making this face look a little bit better, put some makeup. No, I'm just kidding. There is an app that actually will let you put like digitally makeup and make you look skinnier, kind of like Samsung Beauty Shot, but like this is like to another level, which makes me wonder, why does Donald Trump not use that? Anyhow, today's not about Donald Trump, or at least this episode is not, and it's actually dedicated to somebody quite the opposite, quite the opposite in all manners: selflessness, loving, caring, devoted, endearing, memorable, and unforgettable. Uh, Having said that, today, October 14th, 2020, is 7 years since my mother, Yamina Benzarga Misum, passed away. She passed away unexpectedly. With the current coronavirus crisis and pandemic, when I hear people talk about comorbidities as if they are nothing to wink at or bat an eyelash at, when Elon Musk or other people say, or locally here in Tulsa, Clay Clark, or doctors say, oh, well, they had comorbidity, so it's not really coronavirus. And, it's easy to refute that, right? It's the dumbest argument ever. You can say, so you're telling me if somebody is, let's say, overweight and gets hit by a bus, does the bus driver not get held to account for that and instead blame it on the victim and say, well, they were overweight and they couldn't run fast enough, and when he got hit, his force equals mass times acceleration from 5'11" to the pavement, and the angle of impact was so much so that his own weight, his lack of helmet while walking crossing the road, and just being slow in general is his fault. It's not the bus that killed him. It's not the bus driver that killed him. It's not the aluminum or steel body chassis of the truck of the van, the bus. You get my point. It's so childish. It's why do I bring this up? Because I eternally chafe when people downplay medical events, especially unexplained medical events or medical events that result in death, untimely deaths, unfortunate deaths, unfair deaths, unjustful deaths. 210,000 dead Americans, unjust, unfair, an atrocity. In all likelihood, 210,000 is actually being undercounted. And what I have learned in my life is I will always afford the victim, the very least, a sense of victimhood. That is what they are entitled to. That is what they deserve. And well, that's what a civilized human being does. I sometimes go for walks at night and I'll see, literally, even in suburban Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'll see the random coyote or some animal. And I think to myself, animals are better than human beings. Seriously. When you think about how they treat each other and how we treat each other, there are 210,000 dead people. Eh. Millions of people dying around the world from war, starvation, etc., etc. Meh. I understand. We all have our problems. Let me not go more off tangent because this was not to be political and will not be political. The point bearing in mind is the medical system in America and how when my mother passed away 7 years ago today, 2,557 days ago, that it's something I wake up thinking about her every day and I go to sleep every day thinking about her. They tell you get over it. I don't think so. You cope with it. You deal with it, but you don't get over it. Especially if that person means a lot to you. Uh, if 7 years ago is still painful for me today, I can't imagine what people are going through that lost loved ones to anything, let alone the incompetence of a government, incompetence of a social system, economic system. I bring that up because I remember before I went off to become an engineer and moved to Oklahoma, my father had a job in Boston, but my mother was in Alabama at the time, pre-move. And, I had to take her to the hospital, to the doctor several times. And she'd be in pain, and it's like they didn't care. They had to make sure that the insurance was accepted. Like, that was jarring in the sense that I lived in a family that was well off, had a good insurance plan. It was, albeit from some company in New Hampshire or Boston, I don't know, but having a $500,000 house in New Hampshire, a couple of miles away from where Mitt Romney and General Petraeus also had houses, I believe, where President Obama came and campaigned all the time for donations, having a house in and yet here we were, meaning not even money. I mean, how do I say this? That some people like to say that, well, money will be the solution. Money will be the, if you have the money, pay to play. But even then, they were so hell bent on making sure that the insurance was right that here my mother was in pain and they're waiting for an insurance rep to answer the morning at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning. And I'm like, and then when they come back and tell you nobody can answer the phone, we're gonna have to. I'm like, wait. Do you guys have to see like guts on the ground for you guys to act? Now, my personal experiences with the hospital last year around this time, actually, I had a life-threatening emergency. I was taken care of very well. I was lucky, but not everybody is. I don't go by anecdotes either. I will go by what is happening in the real world to others. Because if you don't care about everybody else, then you don't really get to care about yourself when things go wrong. Now, without getting to the details, for fear of maybe getting emotional or more off topic, is I didn't want to do this show today. I didn't do one yesterday, uh, just to kind of chill, whatever. But I thought for all the help and support that I'll admit social media was for me in all of these 7 years, 2,557 days, it's like ignoring the person that helped you, the person, the thing, the tool that helped you get by. And for the last couple of years, I've been thinking, and by the way, I don't think I really came to a conclusion point on my mother, but she passed away, I believe, to some sort of maybe endocarditis or myocarditis of the heart. I believe I'm not sure. She was a little overweight, but not more than a lot of people that I know that are still kicking, kicking strong. No, 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 no shade being thrown, but she wasn't proportionally overweight as maybe 80% of Americans. Uh, she did have hypertension, stress, etc., etc. But it's one of those things where I believe she catches a cold, overworks your system, and then your heart is overworked. And if it has a previous disease or previous condition, you die. Do I say my mom died from the flu, from the what, or do I blame her comorbidities? I can say heart disease, I can say whatever, but it all comes down to just a unfortunate lining up of the stars, if that's an analogy to be used. And she may have touched a doorknob, or somebody coughed her way, and she catches a virus, gets into the system, overworks. You even hear about this at the dentist office. They're working on some young girl's teeth. The toolery, the cleaning tools aren't clean, and a bacteria or a virus, I'm not sure on the medical lingo, gets in, manifests itself, overburdens your system, overtaxes your system, your blood. Your heart is working more than it should, even when it should be resting. You have any other comorbidity, which we all have something, and then what's was seemingly a young girl passes away from what was a root canal a couple days ago. Same with my mother. Not that was a dentist, but it could have been anything. In fact, the doctor said she had the cold and gave her Zithromax, Zithromycin. So, things happen. Uh, the devastation left behind happens. The pain, uh, the disorder of life. Now we can say, tough up, Bucko, and just get over it, or she's in a better place, or do this in her memory, and that all works in good time. But uh, it's not just the only solution. It's not the end all be all. I don't have answers, but over the years, I would before I did vlogging, I would usually write out a long, long paragraph, a long, long uh, essay, paper, whatever, just reflecting on my thoughts about my mother, memories that may have come up, ideas, advice, general things she had to say to me, and things that maybe at the time I didn't understand, but would later on come to realize what she meant, or the wisdom in what she said, or the examples she had set. And I was an engineer the whole time, working for an oil company. I wasn't married, and I had almost become a loner of sorts. And I guess I found a way to bottle up but release that grief and loss and sorrow was, well, to do how I do it with politics, and that was get on Facebook and bitch about it, rant, go on about it. Sometimes it's flowery prose and verbosity and oratory up the wazoo. Sometimes it's I love you, mom, I miss you, mom, etc. Everybody has their way. Some ways are constructive, some ways are destructive. Life is about just kind of getting that middle lane and not letting hurt you more than it already has, and not to inflict that hurt upon yourself as the hurt has already done to you, uh, which is always a hard line to thread or to needle or to walk. So over the last 2 years, I came up with this idea, and I don't know if it's an idea that I because I've never read Barack Obama's book, Memories to My Father, or something like that. One of the books that made him famous and on the scene. I don't know. I could be wrong about this, but I don't know what the book is about. But I remember just thinking about the title, and then I thought, well, I've always said the point of my life isn't about making money. There are ways to make money. I could always be grinding and hustling. Never was happy, not happy. What I'm trying to say is, and let me look up the quote, but I don't know if it's Khalil Gibran or somebody else, but basically, like the collective value of a life, your life, my life. I honestly don't want to get really like prophetic about this, but it's not so much about, well, what have you done now, but I really believe it's in what have you left behind. What do you leave behind as a guide, instruction for future generations? Uh, whether it's a video like this or a book or donating something and naming it after somebody or what have you. I think if everybody is focused on making sure they leave something behind of value, of of material and tangible value, that this life that you live has been worth it. And this is where I come to what I mean on this, what I want to deliver on this post is, I have had the idea over the last couple of years is, it's been 7 years. I'm hoping to start a project soon where maybe on the 10th year of her passing away, I will have some sort of collection of all my social media posts, mostly Facebook posts, that reflect, tie in, sew in together all the ways that social media, Facebook, this was healthy for me. It was good for me. It was a way to cope with grief and loss, express it, and yes, receive affirmation, confirmation, validation, social validation, fraternal and sisteral affirmation from my friends, from my loved ones. Because if you live life having feelings that you don't express, then what life is that? I mean, what if we are humans and creatures of emotions, which is even what animals have, emotions, how they express each how they express themselves to one another, how we aid one another, how we help one another, whether it's financial, whether it's socially, economically, career wise. If you don't release and show and express the emotions that God or whatever being or however we came to be packed into us, then what's the point? Why would we have the ability to have so many emotions, sometimes scattered, sometimes unpredictable, sometimes predictable, sometimes great, sometimes good, sometimes horrible? Why would we have the ability to have them in the first place if they were not meant to be expressed? Just as you can laugh and cry in the moment, you should be able to express yourself even in the quiet moments, in the moments of deep thought. You can express it to yourself, express it publicly, or express it to somebody else. But the most important thing is not to live this life as if we're a pressure cooker, because, well, we know what happens to pressure cookers. The top goes off. If you don't take care of shit, it's not a good ending. So I guess let me end this now. I'm not no Dr. Phil or Dr. whatever, but, and I probably sound ignorant talking like this, but my background is in engineering and finance, so I guess I'm not credentialed in any way to speak on these matters. So there's that caveat asterisk. But, well, maybe I'll spend the next 3 years trying to learn more about grief and the expression of it and how different cultures do it, how it manifests itself in healthy ways, in unhealthy ways, and, coming to a general understanding of it so that I can better, thread 10 years' worth of Facebook posts, well, up to this point, 7, and maybe capture a snapshot of, at that time, what I was feeling, how I was feeling, those that responded, those that took the time to care, you know who you are, and how even so many years later it still means so much to me, even when I reflect on it. So, yeah, and I don't know if that's even enough to fill a book about, but, well, as you can tell by this video, I have a knack, or I have the gift to gab, as one friend of mine used to tell me. So I could fill the rest of those pages up pretty well. If not about my mother and how great she was, and she is, what she meant for me, what she did for me, and the example she was for me, the very reason I do this right now. If that's not enough, which I dare not think would be the case, there's always other things to talk about. You know, Donald Trump, uh, George W. Bush, basketball, whatever. I'm kidding. But anyhow, I wanted to sign off with this, and it is just a couple of pictures I like to go through. Usually, I'm very emotional on this day. I do cry a lot. Uh, a lot. I'm 32 years old, so guys, it's okay to cry. It's okay to let your feelings out. It's to let you know what the best kind of crying is. And hey, girls, listen up too, because I know girls don't like to cry in public. But you know what the best kind of crying is? It's that ugly crying. It's that It's that crying where your mouth gets all, wobbly and snot comes out, and for girls, the eyeliner shadow starts drooling down and dripping, and your hair is all matted up, and spits coming out, and your teeth are like, you know, gross and funky. That's best kind of crying. Best kind of crying is being in the shower. Just that that sometimes you have to get that animal cry, that animal lump in your throat out. Uh, you live in an apartment building, it's hard. Do it in the shower. Put the water really on high, make it hot so you don't do it for too long, and just do it, and you'll feel better. It's not the solution, but letting it stay stuck here and here is pointless if it doesn't get out. Well, make sure you wear a face mask, but if you have to do it outside, but just kidding. But yeah. So let me end this on this note: is Facebook Posts-Mortem. That's kind of a pun, a play on words. Post-mortem, after death, after her death. Facebook posts. Heck, the name of this channel is a play on words. Vertical viewpoint, vertical view, viewpoint. That's my game. I like to do that. I love etymology. I love words, big words, large words, high IQ words, big brain. It's true. Trust me. But seriously, I uh, I just hope to, uh, and this goes back to when I was little. One of the first things I ever wanted to do, and I would tell my first grade teacher, and I've not been in my touch with my first grade teacher since 1995. So that's a long time ago, or 94. His name is Dominique Winters, an African American gentleman, very young at the time, handsome fellow, had the 90s era mustache. Uh, I remember he taught us Swahili about Kwanzaa, good old days. My mom used to drop me off at school. This was Laurel Woods Elementary School in Laurel, Maryland, and right outside of Washington D.C. My dad was a professor at University of Maryland in College Park, University uh, Mechanical Combustion Engineering, Department of Defense, blah blah blah. And I remember telling him what I wanted to be when I grew up. Of all three, I did not turn out to be. Well, wait, one might happen, but I don't think so. I was the only person. This might be a multiple personality disorder thing going on here, but I remember telling him, well, and this is funny because the other day people are talking about how in the future we have to prepare kids to say not what they want to be or to be when they grow up, but what things they want to be, like how many things, because the economy is always changing, and it's more important to have more skills than to be just specific on one thing. And I told him, well, Mr. Winters, I want to be I want to be an author. I want to write books. Okay, okay, Sammy. Yeah, that's good. All right, now write a paragraph on why you want to be an author. I'm like, no, that's not all. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want to be a marine biologist. A marine biologist? Why? Well, I want to swim with the whales and make sure they're living. I'm like, by the way, you could tell I was going to be a liberal or a progressive leftist from day one. Whales, swimming with them. Uh, and he's like, how? And I'm like, yeah, I want to get in a scuba diving suit and like come right up next to them and tag them and inject them and make sure they're healthy and touch their blowhole or whatever. And then he's like, oh, okay, okay, but let's talk about being an author. What do you want to write? I'm like, wait, Mr. Winters, I also want to be a pilot. He's like, a pilot? Yeah, I wanna be a Boeing 747 pilot. He's like, how do you, like, I think he was shocked that I even know what it was. And he's like, Sam, okay, let's focus. And So you probably can tell that's where I get the ADD from. So my teacher's looking at me like, kind of like, oh God, what do I have here? Like, he's here trying to get to the other kid that can't even figure out like how to, sharpen his pencil in the sharpening machine, and the other kid that's like stuck in the bathroom because, well, he used the number one machine, number one toilet for number. I'm not going to tell you, but yeah, that's how crazy Laurel, Maryland was. Howard County, and Prince George County, partly. But and then he's like, okay, Sam, let's focus. And then I'm like, and then after that, he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to be president of the United States. He's like, hold up, Sam. I gotta go. And he left. And it's just funny. I don't. I'm trying to think why I brought that up. Yeah, I brought up author. And well, I would turn out to be a materials engineer that wanted to work in apparel, like Nike or Under Armour. Was almost going to get a job with the military to work on ballistic protection material, boots, gear, tactical gear. That's why sometimes you might see me roaming around with random pieces of like camo and army gear. It's because I was involved at one point or another with testing materials, and it's just in my blood. Not a fan of our foreign policy or what our military is doing, but I was always a fan of the military ethos, I think. But and then it went to then possibly getting a job with Lockheed Martin. That was a very ethical, hard thing I had to consider of working on the Javelin missile system, Tomahawk cruise missile system, and then the choice was made for me. I didn't, the military job didn't come through. The Lockheed Martin picked somebody else, and an oil company, Pipeline, Tulsa, Oklahoma, picked me, and so I turned out to be a materials engineer for an oil company. At night, I would go on to get my finance degree. Uh, and you know who was not a happy camper after all that schooling? This guy. Well, after a couple of years, layoffs, oil plunges, I start my own thing, and my mom passes away shortly after that. And, in those years of coping with grief, coping with the pain of it, that's where Facebook, social media came into play, how it helped me grow, helped me deal with it and live life. And it's also how I came to this conclusion after so many years that, you know what, life is short, life is small, especially after last year when I had a gallbladder emergency that was near fatal. I don't like talking about it because so what? Like lots of people, or 210,000 people died from something that could have been prevented this year. So who am I? But I think to myself, my life could end at any time. It For example, I I am a big fan of Michael Brooks. He passed away a couple of months ago. Shocking. 37 years old. 36 at the time. And to think that such a great mind and a great person, a voice, a perspective, an intellectual brain and mind never, to me, hasn't been seen in our generation, our millennial generation. And it to be gone means nobody is safe. Nobody is immune to a sudden stop, to a sudden halt on your daily activities, whether it is illness, whether it is the final destination, death. So over the last year, coming up with this kind of running bucket list. The top of it is to write a book. And I don't care if this video gets 0 views or 1 million views. If my book gets thrown on a shelf and I buy 100 copies and donate them to libraries, or if it becomes a hot seller, bestseller, or if it is just a book on my shelf and that's all, it will be a tangible and intangible memorial and honor and dedication to the person that made me be who I am. For all the good and bad, mostly good, overabundantly good, from my mom. So, on that note, I just wanted to thumb through a couple of pictures of the good old times. And I was going to actually have the picture of her down below, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to trick myself into getting emotional. So we're going to go quickly through these photos. I have them on my Facebook, personal Facebook, but wow, let's have a look. Oh no, fell asleep. Yeah, this is a as you can see, this was my mother. This was a couple of days before I left for Oklahoma to become an engineer in 2013, 11. This is when my mom came over. This is actually a joke. So my mom comes over in 2011, like about 2 weeks after I become president. President, yeah. After I became an engineer and moved, over to Tulsa, and I had the PlayStation like stick thing. I forgot what it's called. The PlayStation controller thing, and she moved there to help me with getting furniture and setting me up right. I mean, I'm not a mama's boy, but I am, and yeah, there I'm playing like a video game, and I said, "Hey, mom, come here. Let me see if I can do this to you," and just trying to be funny. Uh, this on this day, this was 2011, I think, also November-ish. Uh, we went to go see President Obama. He was in New Hampshire, and me and my mother went. Believe it or not, my mother would go on to get a hug, embrace, and a kiss on the cheeks by Mr. Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. And one of the greatest memories I have was afterwards when we drove out and left, seeing Air Force One having already taken off and like rolling like this over the sun. I mean, geez, I didn't have an iPhone at the time or a good phone or a good camera, but it was one hell of a photo. It's forever seared in my mind because I remember my mom freaking out and me stopping in the middle of the road and getting out. Like middle of the road, I stopped without thinking about my. Just kind of ridiculous, but yeah. This is when we were inside, right about to go in, grab our ticket, and et cetera, et cetera. This is in Rolla, Missouri, 32 Farrar Drive, Rolla, Missouri. I was born in Rolla. It's a city in the middle of nowhere, about 2.5 hours away from St. Louis. Of all the places I lived in my life, it's like I made a big circle because now I live in Tulsa and Rolla is like about 6 hours, 4 hours away, 5 hours away. I've actually 2 or 3 times now stopped by. I've never knocked on the door, but maybe for the book I'll consider getting in touch with the landlord or whoever's living there and maybe ask for a day where I can walk through and maybe capture some memory. I have a very clear memory of what it looked like, and why is this place important? Because this is like I think the second house I remember living in growing up. This is the house where I see those steps right down there. That's where I learned to tie my shoes by my mom's friend. When my dad was traveling overseas, my mom had I think a Malaysian friend, and she taught me how to tie my shoes, and she was teaching my mom how to drive because my dad is very short tempered, and every time we went out for my mom to learn how to drive. keep in mind she was an immigrant from another country where she didn't drive, and it was all new to her. And well, she got along with this lady, and my mom would leave us at home, and she didn't know. I guess that was illegal. I don't know. We were home, and we'd be just hanging out on the steps with the door open and kids playing. I mean, it's almost like a movie scene. It was just crazy. I mean, I think about me and my sister. Uh, I remember even crying when my mom had a miscarriage, but I didn't know what was going on. I thought somebody stole my mom, and I remember my mom going to the hospital once when she passed out and had the miscarriage. I mean, just this place, you know, uh, just Phelps County, Missouri, where I was born, the hospital. Lots of memories. Oh, wow, we're into 40 minutes now. Here you can see that my mom here is trying to be a model, like a clothing fashion designer model. And why I posted here is because a year before she passed away, I had this idea called VIP apparel. It was called uh, Victory is Peace. Uh, and the word apparel was spelled A P A I. Okay, let me say that again. APAIRALL. So it was like a pair for all. So I was kind of stealing the idea from Tom's shoes, but applying it to polos. And well, I came up with this logo that was like a peace sign with stars. Evidently, that logo has been already taken, but I still made the shirts. I didn't know it at the time, and uh, I sent a couple to my mom. Then she said they don't fit. I'm like, don't worry about it. Just keep them. And she said, okay, well look, I'll still model them for you, and here are the pictures, and it is what it is. Here's some more. Here's some more. This is one of the other times that Barack Obama had visited nearby in the neighborhood. Uh, so yeah. So I saw this picture on New York Times, and it was of that actual day. And let me open up my MacBook because I need to zoom in because that sucks right there. Let me make sure I don't. But I don't know how I caught this, and I'm going to order a blow up of it. Let's see. I hope. So I'm in the New York Times, and I noticed the face. This is like a year after my mom passed away or two. I went looking for newspapers of that day. I was thinking, well, my mom got to hug the president and got a little peck on the cheeks. And I'm sure there's a picture somewhere, maybe some local uh, NBC or CBS or whoever or the local news. And then I noticed something. I found a New York Times, the New York Times. I found an article, and I'm reading, and I look at this photo, and I notice somebody. She's short, as she was, but you will never forget the imprint of your mother's face. It's like, I don't know, a 3D, 4D scan of your mom's face. Apple Face Touch, Face ID. I mean, literally, think about it. You will never forget the imprint, the curvature, the scent. Just nothing. So I noticed this person right here. Where is she? Well, I put the red arrow in. But as you can see, that lady, that young lady, is the same lady right here. Wait, just a second, guys. All right, look at that. See, wait. Ah, see that yet? That lady? Who is she? Well, let's do a little. Oh, there's another picture of her. There we go. So anyhow, Yeah, I found this 3 years later on April 2016. So yeah, I hope one day I probably should do it soon, but I can reach out to New and I did, but I never went ahead and paid for it. It was like a couple $100, and at the time I was like, okay, I'll do it later. But I'll have this purchased and framed, and maybe like a digital copy, but and a paper copy. But yeah, she was it's crazy. You know, you look at a photo on the New York Times that small, and all these people that are taller and bigger and whatever, and there she is, and she and in a way I kind of knew that I should look down low because well that's where we were. I was on the other side facing him, but I knew that she said hey, well it was on the way out, and yeah I have tons of more pictures, but I'm not gonna go through all of them. That's one of my pictures of my mom. As you can see, not always. She wasn't Miss Muscle Woman, but she wasn't comorbidity Jane, and it's just one of those unfortunate things that that life throws our way, and uh, seemingly life is just a rigorous trial and tribulation of ducking, evading, hopping, all the obstacles that come our way, like this very long video of me just rambling now at this point. But no, really, I just want to do this video in dedication of my mother. Uh, May she rest in peace. I love her. I love you, Mom. And that's all. That's all. Uh, Maybe later today I'll change the topic and address several of the political issues of the day. Uh, yeah. So I love you, Mom. Bye.